Welcome back to Talkin Dribble Dribblers. We have a massive episode today. Big guest, one of our biggest yet, Mitch Wallis. Thank you for joining the Talkin Dribble pod, man.
Mate, very happy to be here. I've been supporting you boys via social media for a while, and when I did get the call up, it was pretty exciting. So thanks for having me on, lads.
Making our heads too big.
That's good. Well, you got to put your big hats on.
I think so. That's it. Well, we'll start with some just general chit-chatter, then we'll get into some talk and dribble segments in the back end. But I want to hear all about you, your career, your journey, obviously pre-footy, during your career, post-footy, everything like that. But yeah, for those who don't know Mitch Wallis, I'm tipping if you tune into the Talk and Dribble pod, you're probably a Doggies fan. Doggies, 162 games, 109 goals, led the Doggies in a season there for goals. Yep. And vice-captain, yep. Pick 22. Father, son, bit of a resume there.
There's a little bit of a resume there. Look, mate, I love that you guys are Bulldog supporters and the bias that, it's probably a little bit obvious with some of your clips. No, I love it, mate, because, again, I'm a Bulldog supporter, and you talk about being a father-son. We can go right back to the beginning of when the old man played. He had a 14-year career, played 261 games. He's in the Hall of Fame there. So in terms of the Bulldogs blood, it runs pretty deep within our family. So fortunate enough to be around the football club from a very young age. Not that I remember too many or have too many memories from the locker room because I was only 4 when he retired. But in terms of the association with the club post his retirement, there's a lot of fond memories and players and coming around for dinner, Dad mentoring players post his retirement. So in terms of my love for the club, it was, entrenched quite early on. So I'm very lucky that obviously Tom, who's still playing, Tom LIBBA, I'm guessing one of your favourite players, because if you are a Bulldogs fan, he's definitely up there because he's an all-timer. But growing up together and having our dads played and wearing the jumper and growing up in Essendon, and I'm not sure, probably a little bit too old for you guys, but in the early 2000s, Essendon were the powerhouse. They had that season where they won 21 games. We still beat them in that year.
Yeah, that's it.
But growing up at a school in Essendon, 99% of my friends were Essendon followers, and we were Bulldogs. And if you can remember, we were bottom of the ladder in 2002. Yeah. So I had some thick skin, and I knew that it was authentic. I was an authentic follower. So I stayed through that, and I'll keep talking. But as we sort of progressed through, starting junior career, me and Tom played every single team together, from St Bernard's, our local club, to representative footy, to then going to the same school. So enjoying that junior, footy exposure with Tom was something that I'll probably treasure a bit later on, as I get a little bit older. But having that pathway sort of set up. And I think we started having some affiliations with the club when we were about 14. So Scotty West, a really good family friend, got us along to be water boys one pre-season, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, okay.
And, we weren't going that flash, as I mentioned. So Tom and I actually joined in some drills in the pre-season, which is, again, for a 14-year-old kid who loves a club, it was just the best thing ever. Yeah. And post that, there was a father-son academy that, they requested to start with the AFL, and that's where the career started.
And it began. Did you always picture yourself playing footy? Obviously, you're around the environment.
Yeah,
childhood.
I did. That's one of those things you dream of, and there's a cliche that I just want to be a football player. That's all. Carry your footy around. That was definitely me. Wear your club colours everywhere. Go on holidays, make sure the footy's there. Ask for a footy for Christmas every time from Santa. That was my childhood. And I'm sure, for a lot of followers out there and people listening to the pod who are a bit younger, it is the dream.
Yep.
And the fact that I was in and around it probably made it a little bit more of a reality. And then obviously gifted enough to have a bit of talent to then be in those talent pathways. It was always going to be, and the luck would have it that Dad played enough games that I could go straight to the Bulldogs.
Oh, it's perfect. Did you ever, you didn't obviously picture yourself playing for any other club, it was just Doggies. As you said, you went straight to the father-son academy. Yep. And they even told you in your draft year, you were basically picked, halfway through the year?
Yeah, so
taking the pressure off.
Yeah, no, I did, and it was never any other club. And I must admit, I was captain of the state under-18s team, and then the Quarter Cannons representative team as well. And when Tom and I got told, and it was May 30, I remember the day, that the club said, we'll take you, whatever picks they are. And at that stage, you just matched it with the pick that was around the area. So there was no points-based system. So Tom went pick 39. Yep. I went pick 22. And that was because we were bidded in. I was bidded in the first round. Tom was bidded in the second round. But we made a conscious effort. All right, well, we're going to spruik about every one of our teammates to all these recruiters. We're going to deny that we're going to the Bulldogs, which I think it was common knowledge that we were. But even the team and the culture aspect of, okay, let's play for each other, it was so authentic because in the back of our minds, we knew what our future was, but we wanted to make that a possibility for as many of our teammates as possible. And, we came from 7th in the TSC Cup to win the grand final. Now, our team was stacked, but the theory of playing for each other allowed us to keep playing, and the more exposure you got in big finals, the more likely you were going to get drafted. So, it was one of the best experiences that finals run as an under-18 player. And then on draft day, it's a funny draft story, which we might get to in a minute, but to see a lot of my teammates get drafted was, the cherry on top of an awesome sort of experience as a junior.
You had a measly 47 touches in the granny.
It was a good day, the grand final.
Waiting for that to be mentioned.
I was going to bring it up if you didn't. It was a good day. Like I said, I think we just got over the line in the prelim. That was really our grand final, and we sort of kicked away in the grand final. But it was just one of those days where I was excited. Again, the pressure of the draft and the expectation was again off. It was about let's win, and there was a few players that had a great day that day, but I just remember. And I remember seeing the stat sheet at 3/4 time, and I think it was up around 39 or something. And I'm like, that's good.
Right.
But then again, let's enjoy the last quarter because we're 10 goals in front. And that was history.
Falling into that draft process, obviously, like the idea of knowing, going to the Dogs, and same with LIBBA as well. Like that is it'd be super encouraging heading into that, just knowing that idea of you playing for your childhood club. But knowing that both your dads were just legends of the club, did that add that pressure, firstly of just being drafted, but then once entering the club, did it feel like there was that added pressure of certain expectations that needed to be hit?
A little bit. And again, there wasn't social media wasn't around then, but in terms of the Herald Sun and the story, and it was, again, it's a lovable story, even from a football follower, that two best mates get drafted, that the two dads play for the same club. So the theatre of it, we were, in the Herald Sun a lot in the lead up to draft. There was the public nature of the story. Didn't put pressure on as such, but there was a bit of notoriety around it. And then when we got to the club, they held back Steve and Tony's number for Tom and I to take for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got there and Tom said, no, don't want to take it. And Dad's like, I don't want you to take my number. I want you to have your career. Now, again, whether that players that choose to take their old man's number, and obviously Nicky Dacos is running around in his old man's number. I think there's a bit of love in that too, theatre in that. But our parents were very, I wouldn't say forceful, but they wanted us to forge our own career because there was so much already made about it. And it was time for you to start your journey. And even to a point where Tony and Steve didn't come into the rooms that often. They weren't a figure around the club because it wasn't about them anymore. It was about us.
Yeah.
So, the next best after 24 was number 3. So I'll put my hand up. And then Tom ended up taking number 21, which, again, is now etched in history as a very proficient number.
That's it.
But, pressure, yes. Expectation, yes. Tom had an outstanding first season. He played from round 1. I think he played most of the games. I only played probably 6 or 7 games in my first year, but then kicked on in the second.
Yep.
But there was an expectation because of the notoriety, but being able to share that together, bounce off each other. And, I drove into training for a long time there. So we just talk about all that stuff. And having someone that wasn't forced to be mates with, one that was a mate coming into this, our first year, was definitely a benefit too.
Mate, that would have been just awesome going through that whole process with your best mate, as you've said.
Yeah.
Take us through that. Just how did that actually relationship start? Was that just because obviously your dads played together?
Dads played together, so obviously went to creation stuff when the footy was on, but then went to prep together all the way through school, every junior club. Like it was just there was saturation of time for the whole, and it was all centered around footy and school and life, and we've still got at St Kevin's, we went to St Kevin's school, and we've still got a mateship of about 50 that are in a text thread on WhatsApp, and we catch up every so often. And again, it's the best because that's that was what our childhood was. So the fact that Tom and I were part of that, and then part of our sort of our working life, is pretty special.
No, you go, man.
Just a real blank question. What makes LIBBA tick? What?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
What makes him tick? I think you talk about, and we had Brazzy Maynard on the podcast yesterday, that some of the media stuff that I'm doing, and he's a competitor and he's someone that you want to follow, and it's very obvious because he leads by action. I think Tom is of the same ilk of that. He just wants to win so much, and you talk about white line fever. Like Tom on the field to off the field is very, very different. Yeah. He's a very interesting character, very individual. Keeps to himself a little bit off the field, but on the field he's just got this desire to win. And an obvious example of this is a time trial. Tom was never good at time trials. Yeah. Like he would, middle of the pack, but he's a midfielder and he's a bona fide midfielder. Yeah. And then he'd go on and play and get the most Ks and most high speed because there's a competition about it.
That's it.
So in terms of he's a vice captain now, but the way he led from when he started in terms of his attack on the footy, his competitiveness, his willingness to win for the team and go that extra mile is something that just separates him from nearly every other player. And he's got such a unique style too, like his ability to extract the ball, use his hands. He's obviously grown his depth in kicking over the course of his career, but I think he's just, the competitive streak in him. And he's up for the fight. You talk about the grunt and being Bulldogs followers. We need more of him. We probably need one more. We don't have enough. Like it's up to him too often to rattle the other team, to start a spot fire or something. Yeah. But he's been a trailblazer for the AFL for a very long time.
Oh, and he's been one, like we've said this quite a bit on the pod. I reckon he's one of the most underrated players in the competition and probably has been since he entered the league. Like he was in the All-Australian squad, years into his career, and then he was in it again in 2023, 2024.
He never got there.
Never got there.
And I think he probably doesn't hit the scoreboard. So like you took it pure stats, whether that comes to plays into it. But I think he made the top 25 greatest ever Bulldogs, which again is a really good acknowledgement for him. And he'll go down as one of the best ever. He'll be in our Hall of Fame. So I think within our four walls, there'll be plenty of acknowledgement. But I think you talk to any commentator or anyone that's following the game that's been a player before, and I'm sure they hold him in very high regard.
Yep.
He doesn't love the media either, so he's not front of mind.
Exactly.
He's not a wizard with his words in front of a camera. So that's probably held him back from getting the notoriety that he probably deserves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as Doggies fans, we can definitely notice his presence when he's there and not. And that's definitely kind of what we're touching on in terms of, when he's not playing for the Pups, geez, you miss him. Because we really are missing that extra just bit of grunt about. I think that's why there's such a push for a player like Zach Butters this off-season, just because he could come in and possibly fill that LIBBA role quite perfectly. Yeah, for sure. We definitely need a bit more of that. I think Will Lewis is putting up a good effort, but
I didn't like how he went down on the weekend though.
Not ideal. Great. Not
ideal.
Get up, mate.
That's the thing. I love that he's getting in and playing a bit of a role up forward against these elite backs. But when he's dropping down like that, it's not a great look for our team, I don't think. Not.
Because if you're going to dish it out, and like even if it did hurt, like it's even more of a reason to not show it.
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Back to yourself. When you first, obviously you had Tom there when you entered the league, but was there anyone else when you came into the Pups, when you were drafted, that kind of helped you settle in, or someone who took you under your wing?
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys can remember these two too much, but number 3, had Daniel Cross and then Matty Boyd like either side of me, and then Rob Murphy to my left. So I came in and had 3 of the most senior players and best players at the time right in there in the locker bay. And Daniel Cross was one of the most dedicated trainers, and he's someone that I just want to be like you. You talk about first there, and there's a cliche, first there, last to leave, doing extras. He really set the tone for the group in that respect, and it's something that I attributed value to. So I definitely followed him around, and the consistency and the discipline to do it for the whole year. Everyone starts with a high expectation and in pre-season and so I'm going to do extras, I'm going to do these, and then as the winter months creep in, it falls away. But he was one that was so dedicated. He got the most out of his body. Now, he finished up at the Demons and had a fantastic career, but in terms of dedication and discipline, he was one that just took me under my wing and go, mate, if you want to come along for the journey and get the best out of yourself, just follow me. And then that was enough. And I was disciplined enough to not have to continue to ask. I just did. So him in particular and Matty Boyd, because they were 2 peas in a pod there for a bit. Yep. Those two set the standard from a discipline and then like output. So how much can you get out of your body?
Yeah, because you were drafted the year Jono retired the year before, right?
Yeah, Brad, yeah. And then because Brad's a really close family friend and was really close with Steve. Yeah. And I catch up with Jono a fair bit. And he was trying, and he said 2 years out, mate, I'm going to hang on for you. I'm going to hang on for you. And Jono, mate, he played forever, like 367 games. So he played for, and star of the club, legend of the club.
If that card didn't take him out, he probably.
I know, it hurt his Achilles. But yeah, he's still, and look, he's nearly a mentor of mine now, just with dealing with the different things and what's going on in my life. But you talk about a person who is compassionate, always exciting, and had a great attitude. Like, you just talk to him and he's happy. And the smiling assassin is such a well-rounded nickname for him because of what he is. And you talk about going through some hardships in the club and him being the skipper. Like, what a better man to jump behind.
So he was skipper, retired, and then Boydie was skipper when you first got there.
Yeah.
You were kind of at the pubs for different, I don't know, iterations of how the team looked. Boydie skipper, Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, had a lot.
Eastonwood, Bob.
Yeah.
And then obviously Bonta ended. Explain, I guess, if you can, just the difference in the leadership styles throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
But because obviously there was some up and down moments.
Yeah. Well, when I first came onto the scene, we had made prelims. So we were, you talk about the top 2 or 3 teams. We were stiff not to make a couple of grand finals against St Kilda.
Yeah.
So the expectation of where we needed to finish was really high. And we were training at a level, we were our fitness and conditioning guy, we were training at a level that was beyond what our capacity was. And I still remember day one of pre-season, just if we lose a couple, it means that we're right where we need to be. Yeah. Which is not the attitude of fitness and conditioning coaches now. It's more that we're pushing the barrier that much that we want to get the edge, that if we're not on the edge and losing a couple, we're not doing enough. So it's like, righto. And we went on a training camp to New Zealand and hiked the mountains and did runs, and we're talking 20, high 20s in terms of kilometres in some of these outings. So Matty Boyd was the perfect person to lead that, because he was the fittest, he was the strongest, he was an absolute prick in terms of the way that he led, but it was effective because we had these standards and these levels we wanted to push, and he's the one that could push it because he was the fittest and the strongest. And it's like, follow me, jump on my back, I'll show you how to do it. And then, the theory of being able to argue, but, for feedback and stuff, he was excellent at that because he was quite nasty at times, but he was backing it up with his performance. And he had an outstanding patch there, 2010 to 2014, where he was All-Australian, he's BNF winners. He was a star, getting, mid-30s, averaging mid-30s. So that kind of leadership style I loved because I wanted to be that. Like, I wanted to be that person that had standards and, was the fittest and got the fittest, not because of natural talent, but through grit and determination. That was Boydie and Griff. Which probably wasn't as much that. Yeah. Griff was as talented. He's one of the best players I've ever played with. And I don't think he achieved what he could have if things had played differently. Obviously, he left under interesting circumstances. He had a sore back when he went up to GWS. So, he should have won a Brownlow in my eyes from the talent that he had, the athletic profile, his ability to break games. So he wasn't a narrator. And he'll be the first one to put his hand up that the pre-match speech, the quarter time, trying to get 3 or 4 words out of him was amazing. So we probably, looking upon reflection, the other leaders around him, they should have taken that. They should have taken that responsibility. And again, I was too young to make that call, but he couldn't get it out because he was so nervous, and he was more pent up about that than he was getting tagged by whoever was coming. He was nervous about talking pre-match.
Well, there was talks that he didn't necessarily want the captaincy. Yeah.
No. So then when Brendan McCartney came along, he's like, "You need to be the leader of this club. You're our best player. We want you to grow into this and for the kids to follow you." So it wasn't really elected; it was forced, and it felt like it. Unfortunately, it felt like it, and to a point where it was too much, and Griff had to leave to start again and get away from football as much as possible. And you talk about social media, he wouldn't even have an Instagram or something if he was in today's age. That's what he was like. He was just withdrawn from that, client facing or public facing person. Which was really sad because I was really close with Griff. He took me to Tintinara. He'll love it. He's got a property up there. We went hunting and camping and stuff. And me and Clay Smith, obviously, he took us under his wing because we love the same stuff, fishing, hunting and all that stuff. And he was like a person giving us experiences as young kids coming through the system. But then, unfortunately, he left, and then Murph took over, and Murph was the wisest head in the harshest moments of our club, where we lost Brendan McCartney, we lost Ryan Griffin, we got Tom Boyd over, but the culture of the place and who we were and our identity was just in the abyss. Like, who are we? Yeah. But it was shot, and you boys can remember this.
Yeah.
So for Bob, who had been around a long time, very, very good at talking. In terms of training standards and things, was a good trainer. It was an elite kick, but rose to the occasion when given the leadership role. Made All-Australian, second in a BNF. He had an outstanding couple of years in there. And he was ready for it because he was a mature head. Outstanding player, could talk, understood culture, had to bridge the gap between the senior players and the younger players. And I think he did that to great avail. And then ultimately, unfortunately, did his knee in the penultimate year of 2016. But was a big reason in the turnaround for the club, along with obviously Peter Gordon and Bevo, getting Bevo on board.
Yeah.
But for a time that we needed a wise head, someone with composure, someone who could deal with the media scrutiny and then bridge the gap between the young and the old within the club, he was your guy.
Yeah.
Oh, because the club, it was like fire. Captain gone, coach gone, and just
fire.
It was crazy. And then, obviously Bevo comes in.
Yeah.
What's kind of the biggest difference between Bevo and McCartney? And do you have EADE, Rocket, for a year?
17 rounds there.
Yeah, 7. They must have gone pretty well.
Again, that Rocket was different again. It was, I can't remember too clearly because, again, I only played 7 games in my first year, and I played the last 2 under Paul Williams, who was assistant coach that stepped up. So, but Rocket was fire. Rocket was fire. He was, swore more than thought could be imaginable. But he brought in a grid system, so had the forward thinking of the tactician around team defence. We didn't nail it, but it was the evolution that happened. Right. Later on in my career. But he brought that into our club.
Yep.
And had success, but the expectation was so high and the pressure was so high because we hadn't delivered since 1954, and we prelim 3 times, and that he ended up probably combusting internally because the stress and the pressure kept getting mounted. And then we were out of the finals race, and the pressure on the club that we underachieved fell a lot on his shoulders, and it felt like in the last probably month or 2 of his coaching tenure, he was coaching the best players and the best players only. He would go and talk. He would have meetings with senior players. He would, you guys go over there and I'll just these 10 players, because these 10 players are what's going to get us to a final. Right. So then he lost the connection between the young and the old a little bit because the young were just trying to survive, get a game and develop, but he didn't have time for that. He just wanted to win a grand final, but we weren't.
You weren't at that stage.
We weren't at that stage. And if he wanted to stay the course, he would have known that a little bit earlier in the year, but he never gave up. Now, there's a strength in that too, because there's a fortitude of, we're better than what we are. But if you neglect development and connection between the whole 22, well, there'll be cracks. So that's what the end of Rocket looked like. So I didn't get the best of Rocket.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say. And then McCartney was really important because he brought fundamentals back. He did blow the place up a little bit in terms of getting rid of players like Coons, obviously Griff, but Sean Higgins was another one we lost through that period. But in terms of fundamentals and some of the core elements which made us successful when we won the premiership and the lead up to that, Macca was responsible for that. But he was the classic old, let's fight to the death at training. Training's going to be harder than games. That was the theory. He came in, you talk about, these new rules of contact at training. Far out. He would be put in jail for the amount of contact we did. But then it taught us. It taught us the Clay Smiths, the Luke Dalhouses, the LIBBA, myself in that bracket. That grunt, that contest. And in our first year of Brendan McCartney, we were number 1 and 2 for stoppage and clearance, and then number 18 for nearly every other indicator. But we built this core foundation of attack on the footy and clean hands, which held us in good stead. We needed some blossoms. We needed some Ryan Griffins and people to really set it alight on the edges, but the Jake Stringer in the world that come through and did that. But he was responsible. But again, his demise was he was too hard and too clinical in terms of those things. He wasn't going to take us that next step because he was too stuck. He had a Geelong model in his head, which he imprinted, but we weren't Geelong. We weren't Joel Corey, we weren't Jimmy Bartel, we weren't Gary Ablett. We didn't have James Kelly. That team's stacked.
All the fans.
And then the captain leaving, I don't know. It's nearly a vote of no confidence without a vote, really, that the guy that you put at the helm doesn't want to be there.
Yep.
Like, well, what hope do I have? He should be the first one that wants to be there.
Yep. So Bevo was kind of just like you said Rocket, and McCartney kind of contributed to this, lay the groundwork, and then Bevo was the one to actually implement the rest.
And I think what Bevo did, and I've spoken about this openly on different forums, he came with this attitude that, okay, we're going to play for each other, but each individual are going to play to their strengths. There's an expectation that you put your head over the ball when it's your turn, but if you're good at running, well, let's make you run faster. If you're good at kicking, we'll make sure we put the ball in your hands. If you're good at handballing, let's get you on the inside. And he made everyone train their own strengths to complement the overall team. Now, he had a mantra of 1.5, which is do your role, make sure that you play good footy, but then do half of someone else's. And if you do the maths on that, if everyone's playing 1.5, it's better than playing 18 others because you're playing with 27 court.
Was there an instant buy-in once Bevo took over the job, or was there like a sort of transition period where he kind of had to earn that trust from the rest of the
there was
squad?
an instant buy-in because there was a freedom and the shackles and Griffin, and it was like, mate, this is like a new club, new feeling. Yeah. And Bevo didn't come in and rant and rave, and he's only rant and raved a couple of times in his whole career. And you would have seen him, like he gets sometimes a bit flustered at press conferences when he's targeting Tommy Morris or someone, but he doesn't. He never got carried away within our, four walls. He has a couple of times where it was needed, and he's not a natural at it, I must admit. Yeah. But so there was this, where Macca was, he could give a spray, and Rocket was he could give the best. So we've gone from this, on edge, this tightness to this, feel like a little bit of freedom. And we had nothing to lose because the expectation again that year was that we were going to bottom out. We're going to be no good. There's going to be years of rebuilding. We've got a rudderless ship because we've got no skipper. So that was like a breath of fresh air for us, and it was one of the funnest pre-seasons that we've ever done.
Yeah,
because then, you talk about some of the players that I've mentioned before. We're just like, let's just go out there, let's play with friends, let's have a bit of fun, and then the competitive juices got going again, and we had some fights at training, which were great, but it showed that there was a passion there, and Kobe Stevens was part of that as well. Remember Kobe, and then we hit the ground running. To 2015. It was just this new lease on life of having the contested game down pat, and now, some of the fruits of our labour were coming to the fore.
It was almost like we underachieved in the finals in 2015 because we had such a rippy year, and then Adelaide just pipped us at the MCG there.
It was a tough game.
We were at that game in the crowd. I'm pretty sure Jake tried.
Yeah, I was wondering.
We should have won that. We should have won that. And we were, Matt, like our form in the last 6 or so rounds, we're flogging teams.
Yeah.
And then I think whether we got overawed, there was a couple of line ball contests that didn't go our way. Taylor Walker, you mother.
Yeah,
but he's a start too.
That was right in front of us, and that was just
and Eddie Betts. Eddie Betts just tore us a new one that night too. But look, we did learnings, and obviously it was pretty good learning because we follow up the following year with a premiership.
That's it, and obviously moving to 2016, it's such a storied year for the club. But you mentioned Bob at the start of the year, injury. We had so many stories coming out of that year, and none bigger than yourself. Round 18, St Kilda. We're at that game as well, actually.
I think we all cried again that day.
Oh, that was obviously insane for just watching. You were a part of it. What broke your tib and fib?
Yeah.
Just take us through that if you can.
I've spoken about it enough now that I can talk quite liberally about it. But it was unfortunate for my career progression too. So was tagging during the Brendan McCartney days. Now, learned a lot. Was probably shoe on the other foot from my junior career. And then when Bevo came along, it was the same for me. Like he breathed fresh air into my game and probably had one of my best ever seasons in 2015 when he first came, and then was sort of continuing on that form into 2016. And then, as you mentioned it, there was a lot of narratives and stories and layers to 2016 of how it eventuated. But losing Bob round 3, I remember it, against Hawthorn, it was horrible. And for the amount of work he'd done to turn around the club. But again, you didn't know this early in the season that we were going to go to where we got to. It was just one of our, key pillars. Shit, this is going to be a harder year because we've lost our skipper. Eastonwood did a magnificent job of filling those shoes. But we've sort of fast forward to when I broke my leg. Horrible and horrific incident. Obviously, very vivid in my memory. Being there, the pain. Again, everyone stopping and then going into the rooms and still not even getting over the pain. And I think there's a vivid memory of the orthopaedic surgeon who came down. he just put traction on my leg. It was the first time that was a relief because there was bones going everywhere and poking through the skin, and then he's finally pulled it apart. And that was like, wow. But I remember I was just outside the rooms, and yet talk to anyone who was a player or in the rooms. It was harrowing because I was screaming and seething in pain. And the game itself, like after I went down, the game shit itself. We were in front, and then we ended up losing. So it was a horrible night. Jackie Redpath, after I went down with a knee, and you talked to him about it. Like, he was obviously devastated for himself, but the graphic nature of what I was going through, he sort of felt like, I'm okay. I'm walking around.
Which is insane. Like Tommy Boyd actually mentioned that. He touched on that. He said, like Redpath did his knee, but obviously, you went through the horrific injury that you did. He almost took the back seat. And like he even said that Bevo was obviously shook throughout that because like everyone could still hear what you were going through, which is just an insane way. And then you have to carry on and actually continue playing the game. And as it said, it just didn't work out. Oh, that must have just rattled the whole playing group.
It did. And obviously my family, like I talking about it with my wife, like she was at a ladies' function or a partner's function. And then I think they were watching, but they weren't watching. And then someone got hurt and she goes, I bet you it's Mitch. And then all the girls, no, he'll be right. And then the whole crowd just went like deathly silent. And then she ran down, and so I had my family there, my wife there in the rooms. And I mentioned this, but that was the last ever game my mum went to because it was such a poor experience. And she obviously been a pillar of strength for me for my whole career, but just couldn't bring herself to come and watch through the anxiety of, what could be and what could happen. But then, so did that, and the post-injury obviously went straight to the Avenue. They opened the Avenue for me. No one was there, so I slept over there overnight by myself with a security guard out the front in plain kit with the GPS still in. Would have clocked some pretty good numbers on the way.
Absolutely.
But then, and then operated on and stayed in hospital for 4 or 5 days. Very significant surgery, obviously, and then the flood of messages and support and players reaching out, Michael Voss, Gary Lyon, back in the day, who were, my idols, who had been through a similar injury. And it never really occurred to me, they're like, oh, you'll get back. Don't stress that. You put the hard work in. And I'm like, of course I'll get back. I never thought that, even in the acute moments after the injury, that I'd get back. But it also did remind me that this ain't easy. Like, this is going to be a fair journey ahead to even get back to being able to play rather than reach the heights that, I may have been destined to achieve. And then, and as luck would have it, Jack McRae, LIBBA, like our backs were against the wall. And I know this is a story as old as time now. But in terms of individually going through that period and sort of not being relieved, but like got to the end of the year and I'm like, oh, look, it's unfortunate. This is probably not going to be our year. But, I can go away and just reset. And then West Coast, amazing. Hawthorn, amazing. GWS, amazing. And then obviously the grand final. And the roller coaster of that ride of being so happy for players like LIBBA, Tom, Jack, Bond, all my best mates, that they're doing something that's fairy tale of them not being a part of it. It's a concoction of a million different things that's so hard to swallow.
Oh, I bet. Because there was there was yourself, obviously. There were so many stories out of that Bob, as we mentioned, and we saw, Bevo do the presentation after the game, getting Bob on the stage, and then even Lin Jong breaking his collarbone, Matt Suckling just getting overlooked. Like, there's so many different stories. And then we were lucky to get McRae and LIBBA back before the first round. But how was that? Was it a mix of emotions of obviously just happiness, as you said, for your best mates, but then also a bit of, just a bit envious of missing out?
Yeah, I think, envy is an interesting one. I like sadness, pure sadness, because like the envious, I was envious of them, but I think I was just sad that it was out of my control. Like this, that's me if round 18 didn't happen. But there was also other people hurting. So like, Bont and Jack and I had dinner the night before. Not 2 nights before. Not Bont, sorry. Jack and Bob and I. Us three. Who may have been playing if it was in different circumstances. And we didn't sort of sat in silence and just ate. But it was good to know that, we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
And so there was that angle. But then the other angle, as just said, being a supporter from day one, the old man, how happy he was, how all the old past players that Steve used to play with, how happy they were. Footscray. The AFL, like if you weren't a Sydney Swans supporter, you're a Bulldog supporter for that month.
For sure. It was a wave.
Which was a wave. And I rode that. So I look back with regret that I missed out, but euphoria surrounding the Western suburbs and Footscray and Bulldogs, I was part of that too. So as much as it was challenging, it was also amazing to be a part of. But again, depending on what night it was, this is what ship I was in. Yeah.
Did that just kind of add to the motivation of getting back and wanting to get back to your best form? Or did it also play a part in terms of where there's some times throughout?
This is where it was pretty staunch and probably still a strength of mine, the way that I apply it to business and anything else in my life now, is that discipline and dedication. I think it was a strength of mine and perseverance and wanting to defy the odds and get back as quickly as possible. I had mini milestones every day, every week, every month, wanting to get back in record-breaking time or whatever you want to call it. But defy the odds and then be a part of that success and play. Like there's so many different motivation factors. The only thing that I tinkered a little bit was the overall objective was to create as many memories within the four walls as possible, because there was that chance that I may not have reached, playing through, if it didn't work out or we never played in a grand final again. But making the memories to get to that point was as important, because the memories we made when I wasn't playing was amazing. You would imagine if I was.
Yeah.
So that was a subtle shift in my mindset about, okay, this preseason camp, this interstate trip, this players function, like all these little moments in time, they add up to your career. So make the most of all the memories that you make.
Going into the preseason the following year, so 2017 obviously, which was somewhat of a down year for us, especially coming off that sort of high. Was there a difference in mentality between the players that firstly obviously were a part of the premiership squad and then the players who were fighting to get back, like yourself, Redpath, Bob? Was there that difference in mentality heading into that preseason?
I think there was definitely complacency. So any way you want to skin it, like we underachieved tremendously in that year. And whether it was the shape that we came back in, or the expectation that we're just going to roll on and that we had that much talent in the building that it was just going to happen. Now, that's partly whether the coaches prepared us for that, whether the leaders prepared us for that, or whether we just take responsibility as players and say that we didn't, we just expected things would just follow and we didn't try and push the bar. We didn't raise the standards. We didn't meet the standards that we needed to get to. And you talk to the whole group and canvass the whole group, be pretty obvious to say, I wasn't as good as I needed to be. And that would be the majority of players. And the only thing is I didn't play till round 11 or round 12. So I still had a long way in. And I think I came at a time where we were a bit flat. And hopefully to be a spark. And I think we did kick a little bit, but then it was sort of fell on deaf ears because we didn't really make anything of it. But upon reflection in 2017, there was some hard-hitting conversations and truths at the end of the year that, what are we doing this for, lads? Like, I know we've had our time in the sun and you can keep drinking your own bath water as much as you want, but if you guys want a future here and want to create something special, there's a lot that needs to change.
That's what makes it probably impressive how these clubs just go back to back, like we're seeing Brisbane now. How do you just continually have the motivation to keep it going and keep that energy up?
Well, you talk about the timing of it, and let's talk about 16. We lost the last couple of games. We got flogged in the last round. And then everything just clicked. And
we lost to Freo, didn't we? We lost to Freo, and they weren't any good that year. And then we had West Coast with the informer side in that first round.
So, I don't know, how do you – but see, that is more of the timing of it than a Brisbane and a Geelong, which has the ingredients and the foundations for sustained success, which every club is fighting for.
For sure. Going to 2020, where you've basically just reinvented yourself, your craft, you led the team in goals that year. Playing in the forward line, how did that actually come about? Did you have a conversation with Bevo? Was it, all right, we're going to chuck you up forward, see how we go?
No, so we'll take you back to, say, 2018. So 2018 had quite a strong year, signed a 3-year deal, which I think it's been mentioned that I was maybe going to go somewhere else. And that was through opportunity. Obviously, that was when free agency and money started to become a bit, I know it was always a thing, but it was okay, well, the salary cap's increasing and it was Brisbane was the main one. I went up there and met with Fags, who I love dearly as a person. He's just the epitome of a godfather. An interesting journey that would have been if I
absolutely.
But obviously committed to the club. There was a lot of you do the pros and cons in your way up the balance, and ended up staying at the Bulldogs. Again, lifelong friends there. Had a future in terms of my role, which coming back from the injury, I was thrust into a team that was going like this. And then I came in and my form started off really well. I think I come out of brokenly the first couple of rounds and was really good. And then the adrenaline and the injury in my back and everything just started to cripple by the end of the season. So the form thing was an interesting thing in 2018, but I finished really strong. But 2019 rolls around, same thing, started really strongly off the back of a good year and then hurt myself again. And that's when Bailey Smith, Eddie Lipinski, these players, these role players started to really flourish in the back end of that year. We finished off really strongly. So where I fitted in the mix, there was question marks on that again because Bevo found a mix that was really powerful. So then over the course of the 2020, what happened? I played round 1 or round 2, whatever it was, and then the whole world turned off because of COVID. And then it was about, okay, well, this is you got to find your spot, mate, because we've got all these players that we want to play in the midfield. You got to reinvent yourself. And then he goes, well, try your forward, and did okay, and then found and bought into it. And like I said, my strength was always, okay, there's an objective. I'll train harder than the other forwards. I'll learn strength and then be able to leverage that to be able to contribute. And then found a little niche up on the Gold Coast. And then, and it was really loving it. Different though, like, again, you guys having played footy or whatever, kicking 3 or 4 goals or having 32, 33 touches, like what's more satisfying, what's more gratifying? It was always touches for mine. Like it was always just being involved because you can make an impact quicker and the next stoppage you're a chance to make an impact. As a forward, there's a lot about how the team's performing. You got to get kicked the ball, so you're relying on someone else to actually give it to you. But then you can make your most of your in moments, and there's probably highlights that don't occur in the midfield. So that in my head of being to attach the same worth with the output of a forward or a small forward, not a key forward, was an interesting journey, but found it by the end of it and found quite a niche. Yeah,
because it is about searching for moments, isn't it? Obviously, the opportunity isn't quite there like a midfielder.
No. So was it a difficult transition? Obviously, firstly, just that midfield craft that you've been built up for your whole juniors and majority of your career, and then obviously transitioning into a forward. Was it a tough transition going through that?
It was I wouldn't say it's a tough transition. It was an interesting journey. Like I don't think it was not tough. I had to change a few things, but then very quickly, because it sort of started clicking, like it was quite sort of about validation. Like we were having forward line meetings and I was sort of one of the focal points of the meeting, and then, who was going to get me this week? And there was just a different, like it was like another career, in that I was chasing. So there was an exciting element as well. Difficult of giving up midfield, and even when the mids are going to do their thing and, I just want to go in there and tackle. I just want to go get clearance and now forward line where it's a little bit more isolated, a younger forward line too, like an Aaron Norton that hadn't really taken hold yet. Sam Lloyd was the other probably senior player within that mix, but he was a bit up and down. We were young, so I was the leader of the forward line, and I'd only been there for 30 seconds. So that element would have been great to play alongside, say, Naughty now or Sam Darcy now and just be playing that little second fiddle, third fiddle. It would have been fantastic, but we sort of didn't get that opportunity. Hopefully that answers your question there.
Perfect. So then leading, because then, obviously like a career year in the forward line, get the vice-captaincy, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that was it. And I think I was part of the leadership group for a few years before that, but Easton and Bont were obviously the two men at the helm for good reason. They're great leaders in their own rights. But I love being a leader. I love being a leader of when I was at, in junior club days, and sort of probably had to be bolted into shape a little bit when I got to the club because, I was a confident kid and thought that it was just all going to happen when it was a bit tougher. I did learn to lead authentically and not just say words, but actually put actions before the words and then let the words come. And anyway, was got the vice captaincy. It was a really, it's an amazing acknowledgement to be that. But it also, again, you can't just rest on being vice captain. You still got to deliver. And it was a pretty challenging year in 2021. And again, similar, just found myself role-less really because the midfielder moved on. We got Adam Treloar. So that sort of horse had bolted.
Yep.
And then Tim English, Jamari Ugahagan and Aaron Norton. And then 3 resting mids. Where does it fit?
Yep.
I just found myself out of favour. And then that year, there was no VFL games, so there was no, and we were playing good footy.
Yeah, so there wasn't even a chance to actually prove yourself. Pick me.
Pick me. So, I'm not making excuses. It was harder.
Yeah.
Harder to prove my wares and played enough game. I got another taste of it in the middle of the year. Did all right, kicked a few goals, but then troops back, and Bevo is as strong as anyone when it comes to selection of the people that he likes, as we saw on the weekend with Cody coming back in and Riley missing out.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, there's a certain theory and method that, you know, Luke likes to coach with, and I was just not in that conversation for the majority of that year.
I think that's something pubs fans have always struggled to wrap their head around, but especially that year. Like, I remember how frustrated our household was because we knew you were coming off such a strong year. And then because obviously fans are left in the dark quite a bit around selection and that. So just that confusion for us, just like, why is Mitchie not getting a game? Like, literally one of our best players last year gets the vice captaincy, and now we're not seeing a consistent role. And I think, that was very frustrating for pubs fans. And I couldn't imagine how frustrating that would have been for yourself.
And that was hard. That was hard to be a leader, to take meetings and to talk about it and just not being able to influence it on game day. Like that was probably the hardest. Again, the grand final obviously process was really hard, but sort of having then had now perspective and a bit of matured head, and, you know, at the sort of the twilight of my career, it's like, this is where I'm meant to have the most fun because I'm in the best mental capacity to, you know, to play and to train and be smart and impart knowledge. And I was doing that from the sidelines. It sucked.
Was there that expectation from Bevo? Like, obviously, vice captain and that, but then obviously there's an inconsistent role. Was there that expectation from Bevo with you where it's like, we still need you to be our vice captain? Like, we still need you to lead by example, even though you can't do it on the field much right now.
I'm a very proud person, so I was never going to spit the dummy and then negatively influence any of my Like, I was in every leadership meeting. Went to, you know, sat in the box, did everything, but it was like being an injured player, being a leader that was an injured player, because we weren't playing on the weekend. Played 3 or 4 games, and then did play a couple of games where we were allowed, and they lifted the band for like 5 minutes and played in the midfield and had a ball. Yeah. But then that's not what my job was going to be in the senior team. So anyway.
And then we go to 2020, so the end of 2022, you obviously were coming out of contract. Did you feel like you were going to continue playing on? Or like, there's even talks of you going to another club potentially?
Well, this is the thing. And look, my career is marred by injuries if you look at it in totality. Yeah. So I think there was only, of the 12 seasons, I think I'd finished 6 of them or 5 of them. So not many, just a lot of injury. And all impact injury, all broken shit. It wasn't like strains that you could come back from. It was broken and it's like, no, you got metal in you. I got metal everywhere. Yeah. And that year, I got an injury in February and just thought it was something that you can manage, and then kept injecting the bastard just to get it, you know, up for games, and played some good footy, like found a role again because I just fought my way to play a role. And then got hurt, had a rest. They thought I came back and I was sub, and thank God I was sub because that was the way that they were integrating me back into the team. And played 10 minutes and I couldn't walk. And then got a scan and of course it was broken, and then trying to get up for that game. I did my quad trying to get warm because I couldn't. So like ripped the quad and like it was just all broke. And then they put me on ice. But what I did, and again, I'm happy to say this publicly, that I had a conversation with Bevo and you know, some of the other coaching staff said, look, I'm willing to try and get back to prove my worth for next year. I want to play next year. This is not the way they want to finish. He goes, yeah, go. You'd be right. Yeah, we need you next year. And that was, so I went and got fixed. And then again, there's no certainties in football. It got to the end of the year and I held on, and we lost Lockie Hunter. We lost another senior player. I can't remember.
Zane Cordy. It was Hunter, Cordy.
And someone else.
Yeah, someone else. Was it Dunks? Was it Dunkley?
Did he leave 2022? Yeah, because he played 2023 for Brisbane.
And Dunks. So I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was probably what they were waiting for. But then, got the call and answered it, and they said, yeah, we're not. And I'm like, that's enough. And then and then cut it off. But it was just disappointing because I probably, again, put all my eggs in my basket that conversation was going to come to fruition. But it's the real world. Like I said, there's no certainties. And had constant communications with Sam Power and the team about, look, it's all looking good. We're just going to wait. Just going to see how things unfold. And I totally get it. Probably in the moment, didn't get it as much. I get it now, looking back, trying to manage staff and the things that I do around. You know, you've got to look at the club and the direction as a totality rather than just an individual person. But I got the call, and then that was devastating because I didn't get to say goodbye to my teammates. I got it was after BNF, so you know, fans and people that I've grown up with for 12 years were just saying, "We'll see you next summer. See you next summer. See you next summer." Jeez. And my goodbye to, you know, the whole playing group was a little WhatsApp message saying thanks for the journey. Like that to me, which was more important than anything else, didn't get that opportunity, didn't get that that, jump up in front of the group and have a retirement speech or say thanks. It was just ripped from me. And I talk about memories, like that was a memory I missed out on. And I really wanted to show gratitude for everyone who had put all the things in the building blocks in place for me to have such a long career. And I didn't get it. And there's a little bit of bitterness there at the end, which, again, being a proud person, and I never showed it, but what I did is I just removed myself.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been a tough pill.
To swallow. This is 15th of October, mind you. So it's all the players are, in all exotic parts of the world, in Europe and chasing sun, which they should. I would have been doing that if I hadn't been up, on the chopping block. So
bloody hell, man. So then obviously there was talks you were potentially going to continue playing on. Were you talking to any other clubs? Or
I was a couple early days, and then because I had that confidence that I was going to be there, I'm like, oh, look, I don't. But maybe one more year. I don't want to uproot the family. I had 2 young kids now. My wife had been through a horrific, her family had been through an horrific circumstance. She lost her mother. She passed away in the final year of my playing. So there was too many other elements. And then you throw that on top. And then I think another way I got over it quickly is my wife needed me more than anyone in the world because of what she was going through and what my kids and her sister and my sister-in-law, her sister and her father. There was so many personally layers to what was happening that football wasn't as important at that point. And that probably forced you got to grow up and move on quick.
Yeah.
And don't move her interstate. Don't do that. That's not, that's putting your selfish football hat on again. So.
Yeah.
Once retirement happened and that, did you have a pretty good idea of what was next for you, or was there that little dull moment where?
And this is, I'm very fortunate. I studied from 18, so I went to uni. The minute I finished school, graduated, it took me a long time because we did a part-time, and then went back and did a master's. I worked, I did part-time jobs. I'm very sort of high functioning, so I fit a lot into my days and to my weeks. So I sort of had a bit of a job lined up. I started up a company in 2023, so the year after, in drones, which again, Droneland, which I'm doing now. Yep. So I was always ambitious to be successful in business, and whether that was nearly leverage for, me leaving football, because there was at times coaches, does football mean that much to you with all this other stuff going on? And I fucking hated that. That was one that really grinded my gears. That here I'm trying to set my life up outside, and because I'm driven to do so, I would hate for that to affect your opinion of whether I'm committed to football or not. And that did come up. Yeah. But it also meant that through that transition period, while you have to fabricate that, I've moved on, I'm fine. I'm like, there's a fabrication period where even if you don't believe it, you're going to have to tell yourself that you are that person, that you have moved on. So then, the fabrication turns into, okay, well, this could happen. This is believing, okay, this is actual. That's nearly the progression. And that happened because I had tangible study behind me, a future to look forward to. So that did make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, you mentioned Droneland. You're on the Oz American Aces pod. Obviously, you got your family and Emily and, a couple of kids and everything like that. Busy life.
Yep.
What would, give us like a sentence or a word just to sum up yourself post-footy?
Yeah, I think really progressive.
Yep.
I'll put a comma in the sentence if we're doing a sentence. Now, I just like setting a task or setting very task-focused, objective-driven, whatever it is, but in a progressive nature. So in terms of the kids, okay, let's give them the best possible life. We haven't experienced, what's the next one? Let's keep chasing the thrill of giving them the best experiences to obviously accommodate my wife and make sure that she's the happiest she can be and is given everything in her power to enjoy life, to make memories, as I mentioned. And then in my working life, I'm driven to be successful. I get excited by progress and growth. Obviously, making money is a great thing, but the journey to get there, seeing individuals improve, seeing the company improve, nail deals, chase the next one. I love the high intensity nature of what life is. And like you said, I am a full book at the minute with 3 kids, a podcast, which has been it's fun. It's my outlet. And you talk about before about disassociating myself from football. This is the reintegration. Talking footy, dealing with Tom and Daisy, and Campbell Brown now. Like, it is my outlet, and I love it. And I get to speak with a bit more freedom than I did during my playing days, where it was very stock standard with some of my replies. But I love that footy element because I can't wait to coach kids, coach my young ones when they're coming through.
Yep.
And that's the progression off the back of, talking about and sort of staying attuned to what's happening in the AFL industry. So that's a long sentence, but that sums it up.
No, we love it. Did we want to get into some
Quickly smash out some segments.
Some segments?
Yeah.
Bloody oath. Yeah.
Do you want to?
Start with some start bench cut.
Yeah, let's do it.
Obviously, start bench cut, big one in this podcast, has definitely stirred the pot quite a few times. A few dribblers get pretty mad at us. So I thought we'll handball this off to you this time, all right?
I won't sit on the front, so I get a prickly bum.
I'm very keen for a few of these. So start bench cut, starting off with a couple of doggies, just absolute stars. Bont, LIBBA, Jack McRae.
Oh, Jacko's going to kill me for this.
I know, I felt bad putting this one in, honestly. I know.
Well, you start Bont.
Yeah.
And then, bench my old mate LIBBA, and then Jacko, he's just fighting. He's fighting. He's going to find a way into the team soon.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this one has Bont in it as well. Not everyone has Bont, but this is more current.
I'm okay if it does, by the way.
So, Bont, Dacos, Heaney. So, probably the best three players in the comp.
Oh, shit. That's a challenging one because you feel like you're letting them down by not putting them all on the field.
Yeah.
If you could squeeze them all out. But I'm as biased as they come. Bulldogs through my blood. So you'd start Bont. Dacos will go down alongside Gary Ablett, I reckon, as one of the best to play our game.
Yep.
But Heaney is the most marketable player that the AFL seen in a long time. So he's cut.
Okay.
But he's cut for a modelling career or something. So I think he'll be fine.
Right. He'll be fine post-footy.
Yes, 100%. A couple of young guns here. Will Ashcroft, Sam Darcy, Nick Dacos.
We'll start Dacos. And then Sam Darcy, I think, again, if he can get all the stars align and he gets his body in order, he will be one of the most prolific forwards of the turn of the century in terms of conversion and just pure goal scoring. And unfortunately this year, even the games that he did play, he had a stiff back and a stiff body, so he wasn't really converting the way that he should be. But his future's bright. And if he can get his body right, he'll play for a long time because he won't have to cover the yards. We'll keep him away from the ruck. We'll tell Bevo not to play him in the ruck.
Please.
We'll just keep him up around the goals. And then who was the third one that Will Ashcroft. He's done enough already. He can retire happy. He's got his 2 norms.
Is he like a Hall of Fame already?
Well, he will be. He's going to have a Hall of Fame career if he continues on this. But he's a star player. But he's cut from my side.
Okay, looking back at your coaches, we got Bevo, Rodney Eade, and Brendan McCartney.
Look, I'm going to have to cut Rocket. He dropped me twice in that year.
Can't be doing that.
No, I didn't get the best of Rocket. I said that. I ran into him about 3 weeks ago in Port Melbourne, and it was great to see him. And we spoke for 15 minutes in a howling wind, and it was nearly raining, but it was so good to see him. And it's one of those things now, being through everything, I'd love to be able to sit down with Rocket and just talk and say, what was your experience like coaching? What are you doing now? He's doing a little bit of media, but not as much. I'm spending some time with family. And then Brendan McCartney, he'd sit on the bench because of how important he'd be a role player. He played a role, but he'll start on the bench and his role to come on and create the foundations, which he did. And then obviously Bevo. We'll start him because he did turn a lot of things around.
Love it. You want to do that last one? Like the start bench cut, that one?
Do it.
100%. Wait, do I have it here? I reckon you just have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Tommy Sheridan, Daisy Thomas, Campbell Brown.
This is a good one. Start bench cut. Well, we'll have to cut Tommy because Tommy's too busy in Europe. And he's been working like a madman though, Tommy. But he's sort of a fair weather supporter. He loves both teams, I must admit. He loves Freo and loves his Giants. But in terms of who he talks about, like off the back of the weekend, he would have been a Giants supporter because Giants beat Freo. But he didn't have the voice or the platform to talk. So he's definitely cut. But he'll probably cut himself too. His calves and his teeth won't hold up. And then Daisy and Campbell. That's an interesting one. Bench them both, but well, I think Campbell's got a bit of ground to make up on Daisy. Sort of me and Daisy are now, doing a fair bit of work together. So he's in terms of favourites, he can be my favourite. And we'll start Daisy and Campbell can come off the bench.
Love it.
Which one do you want to
do? Blind rank?
Yeah,
obviously another real pivotal one of the Talkin Dribble podcast, blind rank. So I was thinking blind rank these current players that wear number 3
Oh.
So we've got 5 players here. So we'll just give you one and you just put it
Bailey
put it
Smith
where
will
you
be in
reckon.
there.
And
Yeah,
then,
Essentially.
well, potentially
Yeah,
starting
no,
off
we'll just go and racking through the number 3s of
Starting
what
off.
could come.
with our man.
5?
Yeah, there's 5. There's 5. So starting off with our man, Bailey Smith.
I'll go 2.
All right. Caleb Sarong.
Oh. 3.
3. Jai Newcomb.
Oh, he'll have to be number 1, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's
He's
killing
killing
it.
it.
He's
Yeah,
just
no,
killing
I love Joe. I love the way he goes about it.
Especially if he's playing against the Dogs.
Oh,
Far
my
out.
God.
He was good on the
Just-
weekend, but he's a leader now. I love him. I'm
Yeah,
all
so
for. I'm on no dry bandwagon.
Mhm. Yep. Harry Sheasel.
I've got 4 and 5 left.
Got
don't
4
I?
and 5 left.
I'll go 5. Hopefully
Well,
4.
there you go.
Christian Petrarca.
Oh, there you go.
I
5.
think
Yeah.
you've
I
actually
think-
done a great
I think
job.
I've
very well
nailed
there.
that.
Yeah.
So Newcomb, Baz, Sarong, Track, Sheasel.
Yeah.
Rate that.
That's
I think
good
that's, yeah,
I'm very happy. I nearly would have created that list.
Yep.
But
absolutely nailed
and
it.
look, Track when he's up and going, he's knocking down the door of the 1 and 2 spot. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
just their team's a bit flat at the minute. So.
100%.
Okay. And
Sure.
Kennel Awards. So put your mind back to when you were actually at the kennel.
Mhm.
And just got a few here, quick rapid fire. So like first one up, funniest teammate.
Shane Biggs.
Jane Biggs.
And Jack Redpath. Like, it's
Okay.
a shared
Yeah,
award.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
Jack
yeah, yeah.
Redpath was, you talk about a larrikin, and he would have me in fits. And then Biggsy was the same. And they were best mates when we were playing. And them two going back and forth like an old married couple, it was phenomenal.
Biggest pest.
Oh, Clay Smith.
Yeah.
Clay Smith. Just
Yeah.
a pest. Like the epitome. If you want to look up pest as a dictionary, I don't know what it says, but it should have his name there. Yeah.
Hardest trainer.
Daniel Cross and Matty Boyd. Yeah, share that. Yeah, and Bont's there. Like, it's no surprise that he's doing what he's doing. But in terms of the Trailblazers and training when you could train harder, you can't train that hard now because we're pulled back. They weren't pulled back.
Yeah.
Our first, again, a little anecdote here. My first pre-season, we had a running test, and it was like a beep test, but you have a break, and it's a 100-meter sprint, and then each 100-meter sprint you have a 5-second gap, and it keeps getting faster and faster. They stopped the test because they clocked it. Now, it was just unheard of. So that's how fucking fit they were.
Jesus Christ.
That's insane.
That's pretty fair enough. They get the
Yeah, probably well deserved. Well deserved.
Best leader.
Best leader. Well, mate, I want to nearly give Tommy's chocolates because of on field, but like what Marcus does week in, week out, the expectation of performance. And I know we wrap him up and you guys are, there's a bit of a funny gag and it's a bit sick, to be honest, how much you guys talk about him. But for him to play at the level he does, to lead the way he does, authentically, by action, be really measured. You've seen him in any media performance that, he doesn't get rattled. He gives enough insight to explain things, but never leaves himself vulnerable. Demands of his teammates. I think he has to be up there just through being in the leadership group from his 3rd year to the progression of being captain. And he'll be one of the longest service captains because he's the only one that could lead that club for the next 2 or 3 years. There's no one that's going to, and there'll be a bit of a void when he leaves of who's going to be the next one.
Yeah.
But he has to be there.
Quick one, actually. Who would you think could be the next Doggies captain?
Yeah, interesting one. Well, I think Aaron Norton's part of the leadership group. Cody Waitman's part of the leadership group. Obviously needs to get some miles under his legs on the track.
Ed Richards, vice captain as well.
Ed Richards,
Norton and Ed.
Yeah, Norton Eddie's there as well. They're great people. I think it will be a shared role when Marcus leaves, whether it's them two as a natural progressive being vice captains. I don't think LIBBA will be around, which is unfortunate. But I think there'll be a shared role where they both can lean on each other and it's not purely on the shoulders of one, because you've seen teams in the past, I think Hawthorn do it now with Sis and Jai. That'll be a better way to manage it, I reckon, from a Bulldogs point of view, because then there's not really one clear leader. They'll complement each other and the responsibility of being the main man. I just don't think there's a clear enough person within the club to put that forward.
Yeah, because sometimes when it's, all right, he's the next captain. And we don't necessarily.
And they're both, and look, probably Ed's performances, like, mate, he's still underrated, but he's not, because I think people have cottoned on in the last 6 months of how good a player he is. But his responsibility for the team is to play like that, not to be the guy that, rouses and motivates people before a game. Naughty is the proud player as well, can take a game of the scruff of the neck and kick goals. Their playing ability and their leading on field is, phenomenal. I'm just not as aware of how the off-field stuff is coming together. And that's not from the way that they conduct themselves. It's how they lead and get people to follow them, which will be the evolution of them in the next couple of years.
Yep. Last one for Kennel Awards. Most underrated player you played with?
The most underrated for mine is Ryan Griffin.
Yep.
I think he didn't have the longevity of being a superstar for as long in terms of, that bracket of every year they're in the top handful of players. But at his best in 2013, I think it was that was his best year? One of those years. There was not a better player in the competition. And he was rivaling Gary Ablett as 1 and 2. And he just had this athletic profile, this power, and he would destroy training drills. We'd have these 5-on-5 games or small-sided games, and he'd just hold the ball. No one could tackle him. He was so strong through the hips. He could kick the ball 60 metres and was fit and fast. He, for mine, was one of the best players I've played with, and he's probably forgotten about because of what the narrative around his football career, how that unfolded.
Yeah, even just hearing you say that, I don't even remember that, how good he was. Obviously, he was
Look at
one
his
of our best
highlights.
players.
And we're a team that was struggling, and he would get tagged and bashed, and no one could tackle him. He was strong. He had the agility of a cheetah. And do some homework.
Yeah, sure.
100%.
Do you want to do anything else, or are you done? Do you want to do the finish the sentence?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah?
Yeah, we
Just
got
a
a bit of
few
time.
of these.
100% the last one. Finish the sentence. The angriest I've ever seen Bevo.
The angriest I've ever seen Bevo, I think it was in Sydney, and great. He came in and he's spitting because he doesn't really raise his voice that much. He's spitting and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? And then he's hit the whiteboard with all the magnets on them, and this is at halftime. He's hit it, all the magnets have fallen off. And he's just going, well, that was fucking good, wasn't it? And everyone's just sort of semi-laughing, semi-serious because he's trying to give a spray. And then he couldn't compose himself, but he was so red. And he was, like I said, he was spitting and it was foaming, and then hit the whiteboard. He's broken his hand. Fucking all the magnets have come off, and then we're like, fuck, righto. But it was such a funny because he was as angry as he's ever been, couldn't control it. But then it just didn't work because then it turned into a gag.
Just unnatural.
Yeah, so unnatural.
We're playing Reds at the moment. Our coach is the exact same. He tried to spray us at half time, and he literally threw the whiteboard, and then it just fell, and then there was just a long linger of silence.
Yeah.
And he can't spray.
And then I can't really remember. He was just, fucking everyone know where they're playing or what? It was great.
Did you get a look at that?
Did you get a look at that? Well, guess. Go out and you can make it up yourself.
That is quality. The funniest thing LIBBA ever did.
It has to be that Barley playing
crazy.
when he shaved. Actually, the haircut was funnier. As in, shaved the top of his head, had the flat. He had, just this jovialness off field, which again I never had. He had this freedom to do what he wanted, and to do that after a grand final on a knee that was, held together by wire.
Yeah. It's gonna be all time best on post grand final.
What are they? The Barley Lizards or something?
I don't know.
Something like that. But
I'm not gonna lie, his video after the grand final as well, when he was saying he tonned up, is one of the best videos I've ever seen.
But it's so funny. But that's him. It's like, how's your brain think that?
Yeah, I love it.
Phenomenal.
The best sledger I played with.
Best sledger, Bob Murphy.
Yeah, right. Okay.
He's one of the best. And get him on, and he was a wizard with his words. He's poetic, but he would say stuff that would leave his opponents or so confused and I don't know how to respond to that because it's way too articulate for a football field.
Just messing with my brain. Right?
Yeah. I'm surprised I wouldn't have pictured that.
He's a good sledger because, again, it wasn't always aggressive and it wasn't F you and you're a C and all. It wasn't that. It was more like something very eloquent and so.
Playing mind games.
Yeah, just playing mind games and then to just leave it like a player. I don't know how to respond to that.
Just completely rattled out on the field. I love it. The most nervous I've ever been.
Most nervous I've ever been. Football or just life?
Life. Yeah, in general.
Nervous. Mate, going for my car license was nerve-wracking.
I'm right there with you. Yeah,
mate, it was like this is and at 18, you're like, this determines whether you're going to have a great life or if you don't do this, you're like, you are restricted.
Yeah.
So I remember manual. I'm not sure if you boys drive manual.
Geez,
but just
never driven stick.
Coming out of the car park, just clutching and full throttle, the car's fucking screaming.
Yeah.
I just remember that, and I don't have nightmares about it, but I just remember the clammy
Oh.
pits. I was just a
Shooting
wreck.
bricks,
Because it is.
100%.
It's like, and it was right in exam period for VCE or whatever you would
I
call
was
it.
the
now.
exact same. Literally
Yeah.
the worst time ever.
Yeah.
Literally couldn't think
And
of
got
anything
it.
worse.
And then you were like, talk about the happiest. That was nearly one, apart from my marriage and the birth of my kids. There's an asterisk there.
Yep.
That was one of the happiest times of my life when I was driving out of there because you drive out in your car. I got my sister to drop off my car and
Oh, we love.
Doesn't get
we
much
love,
better.
which
I
we
love that. I love that. The best player I ever played with,
Born. Yeah.
and then the best player I ever played against.
Tagged Gaz.
Mhm.
Because I did tagging, like Gaz was hard because we did a team tag and he still had 30 and we did our job, which
Yeah.
is so hard to think. And this is up in Darwin. And it's slippery, like yuck, and he's clean, and they lose by 15 goals. He still has 30, and the next best on their team's 14 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a one-man.
he's a one man.
wrecking bowler,
I remember the second game I played, I was sub my first, but I lined up against Adam Goods,
Yep.
and Goods had a really strong game, and I didn't realise that was my first. I'm playing on a man, proper man, and I went for an early marking contest, and he was just holding me with his, stay there for a second, mate, and just went bang. I'm like, fuck, what do you do?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, one last little question. Do you have a welcome to the league moment that you remember?
Nah, that was definitely welcome to the league. As in, training's one thing at pre-season. That's welcome to the league enough that we're falling asleep in a car park. You eat as much as you can. Your weekends are cooked because you're so tired. That's welcome to the league, but it's not. Standing against Adam Goods, a Brownlow medalist who just manhandled you in the first 2 minutes of a game. You're like, fuck.
Yep.
Okay, I've got this guy for, what have I got this guy for? Pace? No. Strength? No. Height? No.
Let's just throw that checklist away.
I'm just going to work around him.
If he goes near the ball, I'll be close.
Well, then the tactic would be, let's change wings.
Love it. And last question for you. We make this a tradition to ask each guest this. Are you a big NBA fan?
Love NBA.
Well, this will determine if, how this
We're
whole
friends
thing's
or not.
gone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really, if this episode could air or not. So.
MJ or LeBron?
LeBron for mine.
Okay.
That's good.
My brother-in-law is so MJ, lives and breathes him, got his stuff, and I got something signed and stuff. And I nearly started it when LeBron was a few years ago, just to egg him, just to get under his skin because he's so one-eyed.
Yep.
But my team is the Spurs. Tim Duncan was the first ever Guernsey I got. Mum got it for me. Santa got it for me, sorry, in my sack. And then they went shit for a long period of time, so I just followed LeBron and followed every team and every team that he went to. And that's one game that I'd watch if I was going to ever watch a game on a weekend or during the week. So I think what he's done, because if you think about the greatest ever in football, I go to Gary Ablett because he was the best for the longest.
Yep.
Now, there's probably players that have had higher outputs in years and cumulative years, but for Gary to be as good as he has been for 14 or 15 years, that's what makes him my GOAT in AFL. The same thing with LeBron.
Oh, the longevity is insane. The fact that we've had this discussion since 2012. He's had 3 Hall of Fame careers since.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What about, so you're MJ, obviously.
No, I'm LeBron. Yeah, sorry.
Is anyone MJ?
Well, our dad is, and we have this group chat literally called MJ v LeBron, and just anytime something pops up, we just send it through. So this would be nice to actually just.
It's one of those ones though, and who he played against and all that stuff, and the scrutiny and the media. It would have been amazing. You talk about if you could artificially put them in the same era in between. It would be fascinating.
It'd just be,
because it's just there's so many different factors. And you ask any historian, who are there better players in the league now? Well, the superstars are the superstars, but the actual third man, fourth man, fifth man now are a lot more capable than they were back in MJ's day. Not to take anything from MJ because.
Oh, it's just the depth of the league now. It's just talent everywhere. You look at the blokes who aren't in the league, and it's how these guys are insane.
I'll get Matthew Dellavedova back.
Get Delly back. I used to busy having a reunion.
That was cool. He's living his best life.
He's trying to dab up. But he'll be part of that forever.
Hey, you got the invite over Kyrie, so he's doing something right.
Jeez, he was good in that series though.
That is some of the best basketball ever.
We digress.
Exactly. Anyway, we appreciate you coming on the pod, man.
No.
Really appreciate it.
I love what you boys are doing. Hopefully this gets in there and we don't get this cut. But no, it's been awesome. And again, being a Doggies follower, it's a bit easier to watch your content because I can form an opinion off the back of it. But I love what you're doing. And again, I know you love your NBA, so you're going to do some NBA stuff. But we'll be tracking you closely and hopefully that you guys can forge a future in this space.
No, I really appreciate it, Mitch. Yeah, if you ever want a game as well, you can come join the Con Resi's on a weekend with us. If you want to help us out.
That's Jackie Redpass. Yeah, Con.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, does he live in Con?
No, his mum does, but he grew up and then now he's chasing sun, so he's up north.
Does he want a game as well?
Don't think his knees would be putting up with that. But.
All we need is a pulse, man. That's all we need.
So, thanks for having me on that.
No, I appreciate it, Mitch.